Now, this video is about the introduction to Splunk platform and what exactly is Splunk and the various operations that we can use in Splunk and how do we deal with the data. So let us begin. So Splunk is basically an online platform that is used to analyze the data entries, the log entries, the content which has been uploaded by an employee of a company or generally from a layman's language, a person who is just learning the process of understanding how data works. Suppose any data I have uploaded and I want to analyze the data to look for any future threat patterns, maybe to assess the vulnerabilities so as to make sure that the problems don't occur. So to do these, we use a platform called the Splunk. So it's an online platform that basically supports the user to upload data from the devices itself, and each data will be stored in an index. Each data that has been uploaded from our laptop is the host, and through this centralized view, we can basically monitor the data that is that has been uploaded. We can make queries using a specific language called a Splunk processing language, which we'll talk about, and we can also depict data graphically. We can create alerts, triggers, and threshold that we'll soon discuss. So the first and most foremost step is how do we install Splunk? It is really easy to install Splunk. We need any web browser. We'll just type splunk.com and we'll eventually log in up on the site. It will receive some credentials. We'll have to write some credentials on our own. And link will be generated for each user, which will be accessed every time we are entering the site or in running or executing the platform again and again. So this is how the overview of the Splunk platform looks, like the main page or the cover page of the platform, where you have various operations on the left hand side. These here, such as the dashboard that you can see, these are the files that I have already uploaded and worked upon. So whatever files you save, you work upon, you can access in the future will be saved here. Not just the files, but the dashboards and the alerts too that you create. And in the settings option, we can access some new operations that we'll see soon. There are some specific terminologies that we need to understand before uh, directly jumping to Splunk, which is the number one is host. So host in a network is basically a device or a connection or any application that is basically serving the request to the clients. In this case, as a request to the client, we are uploading the data by the user. So your data that you are uploading from your laptop, that data has a host number, and that host number basically represents the device from which the data has been uploaded. In your case, it will be the laptop that you're uploading the data from on Splunk. Now, such similar data that you have uploaded, suppose not just one file, but multiple, some tens and 50, some 100 files together, each of them will have the same host number, and they are quite similar to each other. So you will likely save all of them in a single category so as to organize your data, to make analyzing the data even simpler, operations on data even easier. So these collections, these groups, or these sandboxes that store basically the data coming from multiple hosts together, multiple files from multiple hosts which are the same category, then these sandboxes are referred to as indexes. These indexes have many data, many files. Every data or every file that we are uploading will have each of its own fields. Now let's talk about fields. Like in an Excel file, there are columns, and each column has a heading, and each column will have its own data or some data entries that have been stored. Maybe if it's the marks of a student that you have entered, the average marks, maybe the name of the employee, the average salary, or any mathematical or the normal calculation that we have done to save the data. That is a field. We can access some specific fields, do operations on them using using queries, and we cannot make queries in Splunk directly. For that we need a language. Just like we need like a C programming language, for example, to interact with a compiler, so that that compiler compiles our code, it sends to the operating system by converting it to assembly language and then executing the task. Similarly, here to make queries with the Splunk interface, the humans have to use a Splunk processing language, SPL. It is case sensitive language which basically queries on the data that we have uploaded, or some data that has been already available on the Splunk platform. With that, we can access the data of some specific index, specific field, host, fields, and make changes, save them to dashboards. We can do anything. Here also, similar to like C and Python, there are some keywords that we will tackle very soon. So this was the basic overview of how it works. We will now straightforward jump to the platform and do the coding aspect, or basically to analyze the data and understand how Splunk can be useful for operations. This is the interface that I'm using. I will go to, so I've already made two reports such as these, the dashboard and the detailed report, which I'll discuss soon. So there is settings option here. Here we can find various data models, alerts that are already existing. If we go to indexes, it will show us a variety of indexes as seen here. So these are the already existing indexes that are available here, right? So this is the data. All these indexes here, they have multiples of hosts, the data coming from multiple hosts together. They are all similar data of similar events, coming from similar events, and they are stored together to make our life easier. So this is the pre-existing data. Apart from this itself, if we have two settings, we can also upload the data itself with the help of search reports and alerts model. So we can search here, we can see that there is no such option of alerting and generations because I have not created any. So with this, you can also like create reports and the home launch and just upload data from your device itself. Now let us suppose I'm operating on, so this is my interface that I have to basically use Splunk Enterprise. And let's assume that I am using the interface that is called the audit that I'm using. So my query will be index. I will name the index. Suppose I'm using underscore audit, which we had seen just right now. There was an index named audit. And if I run this, here I can also change the time range by 24 hours or whatever period as I like. This will show us that all the data that has been included the last 24 hours. So if I search here in audit, so it will show me around 1624 selected events. That means there are 1624 multiple files or data coming from different hosts, which has been coming from the same host or maybe multiple hosts that has been uploaded on Splunk. So as you can see, these are all the datas. These are some of the fields that are visible to us: host, source, source type. You can see all of these are host have the same values. And this value is most likely your computer or the laptop from which you are uploading the data or you are doing the operations. Apart from these three visible fields, there are also some extra fields here that you can use and access. Suppose action is one such field. So action has basically 72 such values in 1648 different files. Some of these values of action are like search, edit, list deployment, artifact, etc. And it will also tell you how many such files out of 1648 have search as the action. And it also shows us the total percentage of it, of the total files. Now, suppose I want to search for a very specific amount of data. So I have, with the help of index, I have basically searched all the files and I want to access some specific files with specific conditions. Suppose I want a file in which the action or the host or the cap, these have some specific values. Suppose, so for this, I will use this trade line symbol I will use the keyword where, and I want action is equals to search. If I write action is equals to search, it's a case sensitive thing, so we will have to like return it. And if we like return it, search it. So out of 100,648 files which were uploaded, we have now come down to 191 such events. That means 191 such files have this value of action, and it's a case sensitive, so I will use this within quotation marks. And it is not just applicable to one such field. I can join multiple fields. Suppose I look at the acceleration ID, or I look at the end time, suppose. These are basically any of these fields I can use. For example, let's take an easier field which will be easier to write. Let's take available underscore count field, and I want to look for files which have zero value in them of available count. So I will make a query here, and I will have to join two conditions. For that, I will use the keyword and in capital again because it is case sensitive. So I will put acceleration. I'm sorry, I'm just checking again. What was it? Available count. So I will put available count. Suppose I'm saying it is greater than or equals to 1. And now if I make a search, we have now selected some 15 events only in which the action field has a value of search and the available count has a value equals to or greater than 1. So we have analyzed the data, the fields. We have made a query such that in the initial starting we had 1648 files or events, you can say, and we have now reduced ourselves to just a bare minimum of 15 fields or events. We can take certain operations. These are the with the time also. These are basically the time of establishment of these events when they have been established. Of course, I have just taken the default data from the file, so it will just have today's date and time at which I'm operating. If you upload the data on your own, maybe some few days later, if you observe the data, then you will see that some correction in the time will be made as per your convenience. So this, apart from this, I can also count basically what is the number of events that will have a certain field. Suppose if I have to count the number of events where action value is search, and maybe the available count is 1. So I will use another keyword which is called line count, which is called basically the event the stats count. So I will basically remove this code first. I will put stats count by, and suppose I have to look for a field in which some values are already existing in that field. So probably let's take by the value of action, and let's execute this line. So you see, I have on the basis of the field action name, I have counted the number of values of the action field with the help of their respective number of files that have these values. So get password action value, these are the values that action can have. So get password has one file only. Accelerate search has 47 such files. So similarly, you can see that as we scroll down, there are multiple values to the action field. So we can also count is the number of files by the number of by any field that we are searching in the code itself. So this is a total of 1,700 such fields. If I put a condition here itself where action, basically I can put another statement here also that available underscore count has to be greater than equals 1. So this is my another query that I have made by combining two such events. So this is see the error in stats commands. It is invalid. My search operation cannot operate simultaneously on two different tasks. That means if I really want to like find the number of files by this, I will have to use it in a separate command, not with the help of statements. Okay. So this was basically the operation of stats count by. Now another thing is, suppose if I have to represent this data graphically. So graphically I can represent it in form of a bar chart, a histogram, or a pie chart. So I use this visualization pattern, and this here basically shows me a graphical representation. So on my x-axis I have the various action fields, and the action fields, like, so these are the various values of action fields: get, password, accelerated search, alert file, etc. On the y-axis I have the respective count. So if I click on this, this is showing that acceleration search field, action field, has a value of acceleration search, and there are a total of 48 such events or files that have this value of action field. So this is a graphical representation. I can also change the chart type by doing it from form of a pie chart also. So this represents me a pie chart factor. You can clearly see from this that search has the max that we had already seen, that search has the maximum count as compared to other values of action, and its overall contribution is 14.82% out of 100% of total values of action. So by this we can also see or compare various fields and their various values and counts by the help of query and visualization field. So this was basically about the operations of analyzing the data, making queries to minimize the data. And so my next operation basically is, how do I make collection and organization of this data easier? I can create a dashboard that creates my query, saves my query, and also has this graphical representation so that I can refer to it anytime I want, and it will help me in the near future for understanding the concept even better. For that, we will save this option as save while as a new dashboard. We will get this panel, and suppose we are putting it as any title for it, dashboard for video. We can of course provide a description, and we select a classic dashboard because that is what generally in the free Splunk platform it provides to the users. And then it is a statistical table we are selecting, and then we are saving it to the dashboard. So now it has created our dashboard, and now we will view it. So this dashboard here that we have created, we have saved it eventually, and we can access it in the future itself. If I write in the edit option here, I can give a title to it. I can change the chart type as I want, from histogram to radial gauge to screw, pillar, or event gauges, etc. So this is the basic operation of charts. Now my next operation is basically in terms of alert management and viewing the file that I want. I can also edit this dashboard itself by adding some extra data to it, and for which I have some options such as add panel and add input operations. Suppose I wish to add an input Then I can create a linked list, time, and various drop down operations here. I want to add a panel, and suppose I want to add basically a line chart, and I want some other data to be stored in this dashboard, so I can make the query according to myself. Suppose I want a query that says index is audit, as we had done, and then I want my command to store, suppose, the line count. Yes, line count field value. So this way I can eventually put you another line chart that will count the different values of line count in the various fields. So if I run the search, it will show me such values of line count. That means there are 2250 such events which have a value of line count 1, line count 2, and line count 6. I can again in the visualization mode itself visualize it and save up. So this is a graph column chart representation. I can create it within the bar chart or Riedel gauge itself. So now my whole concept is about alert management. So basically, let's switch back to the report. And these are the various operations that I had just discussed with you. Index underscore audit will show you all the related fields. And similarly, search, we have added two such commands. So it will show us only those files which satisfy both of these queries. And my next important topic basically will be alert management. So what basically is an alert? Why do we need an alerting system? So alert is basically the monitoring of the data of a computer in real time and making observations from it, setting some values of the for the computer to alert the system when a threat occurs. So basically, it's an offensive security mechanism in which we are monitoring the data, we are setting some thresholds and triggers to the computer, such as suppose this we have put a restriction on the CPU processing power to be at a max of 80%. Whenever the CPU processing power goes beyond 80%, system will be triggered. When the system is triggered, this means that there is likely a vulnerability or a problem in the system, and the user, the device, and the administrator will be informed, and the vulnerability or the problem will be removed, and it will be made sure that it won't occur again. So, this restriction on CPU of 80% that I have put, or similarly, I can put any other restriction on the device for an alert to be generated to aware the user. These values are called thresholds and triggers. So with the help of Splunk also, we can save a file, and in real time or in continuous time, we can observe the alerts itself. For that, we will of course first make the query as we want. I'm making the same queries, and suppose I want my line count is equals to 1 and action is equals to search, and I will search the data. I will get 361 events. So here, instead of saving it as a dashboard, I have an alert option that I will create. So I will save the file as an alert. I have various titles here, permissions and values that I can add. So this is a trigger value that I was talking about. So this trigger is basically generated for two options. It is once or for each result. So basically, when you are performing an operation, maybe once when the trigger has been set, then the trigger will be generated just once. If you want the trigger to be, just continuously keep sending you reminders and, make generate alerts when you are creating some searches and in the background your value has exceeded the threshold, then you will use for such results. And when you eventually add such all actions and you save the alert, you will have a different window in which you can always edit the details of the alert. You can manage it. and you can assess how alert is working in real time monitoring of the files. So that is how the operation of alert works. Now, this window here, as I had seen, I had already created two windows here, two dashboards here. And so the third dashboard that I had just created, it got saved here eventually. And now for future accessing, I can use it again whenever I search Splunk for my personal details. So this is, I suppose, a detailed report that I had previously created. If I view the data in it, so this stores the data of all the files that I wanted based on my query that I had made then, and eventually I can edit the data as I want, right? So this is the very good use of the feature of dashboard in Splunk that allows us to monitor the data eventually. So this was an overview of how the Splunk monitoring works. And so this is basically how we are setting the values. If we set a value such as private, scheduled, when basically we want an alert. So we want it 15 minutes after the every hour once the threshold exceeds. So we can make such queries as per our convenience. So after creation, our report or that alert we have named, it will be saved like this, and we have an option of always editing it in the near future as possible. And in theoretical aspect, if I say, so basically the alert has six major operations which I have listed here. So first is the data collection. The first job of the system is to collect data from all the applications, files, log entries that you have made, the header files that you have collected, or the records that you have, so that you can assess the files, you can look for any loopholes, any vulnerabilities, and you can work upon it. So this is the first step of data collection. Second step is normalization and correlation of data. So in this step, the data that we have collected, they're all from different formats and different types. We first need to perform parsing on the data. Parsing means we are standardizing the data in a fixed format so that we can organize it, we can assess the data in a uniform manner very easily, and it makes our job comparatively easier to look for alerts and basically set some threshold and triggers. Now, third step is threat detection. Once you have analyzed all the data, you have collected the data, and you will start monitoring the tools and the systems for basically any threats, any risk that you think are associated with that application or file. Once that threat has been detected, then in the system itself, the alert will be generated for the user knowledge. And as we had seen in Splunk, that alert can be generated at intervals that we can choose, maybe 15 or 30 or 45 minutes every hour, once that alert has been generated or the threshold has been exceeded. So this is the process of alert generation. Now, next job is to make sure that the alert is first observed and noted upon by the user. We have removed the threat from the system so that we don't receive the alert again and again, and we don't want the data to be lost from the computer because we want to access the data some way somehow in the future. That step is called the incident response, in which we are managing the alert system, and we are removing all possible vulnerabilities and threats from the device of the computer to make sure it's basically free of any malware, viruses, or any threats. And the last step is basically is the post-incident analysis. So after the whole incident has occurred, as a user, as a person, as a computer of official, my whole objective is to make sure that such threat does not occur again in the system, because I don't want to face a critical situation again. So for this, basically the whole incident will be and documented, and basically regular intervals will be there for assessing of data, so as to make sure that if there is such a vulnerability in a system again, it will be removed and acted upon faster and more efficiently as compared to the last time. So these are basically the six major steps of alerting in the system, alerting and monitoring in the system, which is really important, of course. And so we can clearly make a conclusion that Splunk and alert management are quite related to each other. So this video was all about sharing my knowledge, the basic knowledge that I have on the operation and the idea of Splunk, alert management, and cybersecurity relations of various terminologies, computer networking, and how things work. I hope this video was useful. And with that, I will end this video here. And I hope that everybody had a good time watching it. Thank you.